I was lucky enough to be part of Spotify in the early days, and then also Siri, which, believe it or not, was a company which we sold to Apple and part of my previous firm. And also one of my favourites was one called Sumley, which was a little 15-year-old kid, which, as my previous firm, we found in Wimbledon in his bedroom. I mean, didn't actually go into his bedroom at the time, but he was working out of his bedroom, and he at the age of 11 had started coding and had made $30,000 off some apps that he'd made by the time he was like 14 or something. And as normal 14-year-old does, you come up with this idea about how to summarize key points out of text through machine learning and hire a couple of MIT professors and developers in Israel to do it for you, all from your bedroom. And actually his parents, which is generally the case with kids like this, his parents have absolutely no tech background at all, which is usually the case. And it was a lawyer and a banker. And the first time that he kind of told him what he had to do was because, as of course at the age of 15, he couldn't be a director of a company. And so he had to tell his mum to open a bank account because the richest man in Asia was about to put $300,000 into his account. His mum's like, whoa, mind blown. And of course we sold that for 30 million 18 months later to Yahoo. Now that was a really interesting one. So we took Nick around. Nick was absolutely incredibly talented kid, very articulate, had this great vision, but as is quite typical here, particularly in Europe, the VCs were like, yeah, like really nice, really lovely, but it doesn't make money instantly, or you haven't got a track record. Well, of course he hasn't got a track record, but and so they were like, no. So we're like, okay, screw this, right? You a bunch of idiots. So we're going to basically raise it in a different way. So we raised, in a super angel round. And that super angel round ended up having Yoko Ono, Rupert Murdoch, Ashton Kutcher, Mark Pincus, and Arianna Huffington, and a whole bunch of people who all wanted to, because when they saw Nick, they were like, okay, I actually understand what you're doing. You remind me of me at that time. I want to do and invest in you. So they, and that type of person, they're not going to sit there like a typical VC firm and do 6 months or 6 days, whatever, of due diligence. It's not that. It's a feel for the project. It's what I want to do. I believe in Nick and I want to do it. And so the issue, funny thing was that then when we launched Sumley, and then I got pinged on Twitter by 14, 15, 16-year-olds around the world with like these awesome ideas, which always sounds a little dodgy when I say that, but it's and I ended up funding quite a lot of them as well, and particularly one which I'm about to do now, which is he's 15. When he was 13, he bought $1,000 worth of bitcoins with $1,000 which his grandmother had given him. And he sold that for 2 years later for $100,000, and so at 15 or 14, so he decides to leave his parents in Idaho, which understandable, and move to Palo Alto. So he is now in Palo Alto on his own, and he has an amazing company which he's got up and running on his own. So for kids. So the thing is that these days that anyone can start a company, anyone can build anything pretty damn quickly. The issue now is not what it used to be in 1999. 1999, a terabit of storage cost $25 million. It costs $200 now. So to go up and get it up and running is actually incredibly easy. The problem is scaling it. And the actual thing is as well is that there's a huge amount of people who are incredibly interested in someone like Nick. And how do they get to them? And traditional VCs are not even, and I have a fund and I have an accelerator, so I kind of put myself in the same boat, but they're not going to go through that process. They're just not going to get anything. So the crowdfunding space has accelerated and exploded simply because you really do have people at all sort of levels who want to get interested in and see a project. And you've seen also some great films. I can't remember what was the name of that film that got funded with $4 or $5 million, which was the Veronica Mars one. Exactly. You're right. So that's the type of thing that's going to start kicking off, where you've got fan bases, kicking through. So I'm a big fan of Serenity, which was an old sci-fi thing, and I can just see that I would absolutely fund that project to go back online. And so I think that for me, crowdfunding is really, really going to explode. And so for a lot of the VCs, it's very difficult to AngelList upset them quite a lot. Now, crowdfunding is upsetting them quite a lot as well. And you have an incredible amount of, what's also very interesting is that you have a lot of families coming out of Russia and China, very wealthy with family-backed things, and they don't have immediate channels and access to the smart people coming through. And so that money needs to get to people, and they kind of have these middlemen that kind of look at deals for them. They've kind of realized those middlemen know absolutely nothing. So they need to get rid of them and bring in crowdfunding sites and so crowdfunding and sites that are well backed and have a great sort of level of projects on them are very interesting for that type of money and families, etc. And so, I think that the whole space is extremely interesting. And I just go back to with Nick, that we would have, imagine if we'd put out there that we have these type of investors, the crowdfunding drive to jump on something like that would have been enormous, and it would have just like shot through the roof. So by the combination of putting individual investors together and then filling it out with crowdfunding is a very, very attractive option for someone like me, where I'm looking to fund early stage companies and kick them out the door on a regular basis. Is that all right?
Okay, that's good.
Yeah?
That's good,
all right, okay, cool.